Carson Wentz and Nick Foles have plenty of history in Philadelphia. Could history repeat itself in Indy? Tell you why we're asking. Jameis has taken reps with the ones, but does he have any chance to succeed without Michael Thomas? And Aaron Rodgers, new golf cart, taken to the streets. Good Tuesday morning, everyone.
Street legal.
Get it? Yeah. There you go. First things first, Nick Wright, Brandon Marshall, Kevin Wilds. I'm Jenna Wolfe. Brandon, you ever have something like this in camp? Is this like a thing?
No, the McCaskies wouldn't let us in Chicago. They wouldn't let us in. In New York, I used to fly a helicopter.
All that wind.
Helicopter practice.
That wind.
Helicopter.
Right? Blew you right over.
Flew a helicopter. That's better than the golf cart.
We'll get to all that transportation in a second. We've got to start with a busy night in the NBA. Free agency opened up, and it was a frenzy. While a lot of teams look to add young talent, Lakers were focused on adding veteran presence around the new big three of Braun, Brow, and Brody. They brought back Dwight Howard, also signed Trevor Ariza, Wayne Ellington, and Kent Bazemore. Certainly some of that shooting help that we talked about all week that they needed. So here's the Lakers' entire roster as it stands right now. Take this in. All the signings from yesterday had been awesome. Lakers at one point in their careers. How about that? So, Nick, start with you. What'd you make of the Lakers' moves?
Well, listen, I don't care about the Kent Bazemore move. He'll be the 11th man. Ariza is fine. Ariza obviously adds some veteran experience, and he's had some really good playoff moments and some tough playoff moments. I think Dwight's important. But the one that I really love is Wayne Ellington. I've been trying to get Wayne Ellington on a LeBron James team for 6 consecutive off seasons, and it finally happened. And so the viewers saying the Lakers need more shooting. Well, this is a guy that the last 4 years is about 40% on 7 3-point attempts per game. So that's how they're going to fill out their roster. You're hearing good things about Patty Mills and or Carmelo Anthony. And the other thing that happened yesterday is what didn't happen yesterday. And that's Dennis Schroeder didn't get signed. Well, stop. Brandon, tell me what's funny. Tell me what I'm missing here. I didn't think there was anything comical going on, but tell me.
I'm sorry.
I want to know.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just love how you're trying to keep it together right now. This is the oldest roster in NBA history, it feels like. You got 7 guys on guaranteed contracts. 6 of them are 32 years of or older. And then you have 4 guys that's 35 years of age. This is not going to get it done. I love how you're being so optimistic. But, Nick, this is not going to get it done.
Okay, so age is the concern. You're a Nets fan. The Nets youth is who? I'm just curious. If the age is the concern, who are the young ups? No, tell me. Tell me. Because if age is the concern,
we're not relying on 35 and 36-year-olds. That's not the point. You got the oldest roster in the NBA. It's not going to get it done, buddy.
Okay. Easy. I'm 36.
Katie's 33. Hold on. Let's be honest here. Katie's 33. Harden's 32. Blake is an old 32. Yeah. Kyrie's 29. So you have LeBron is the only guy older than that group. LeBron's 36. And then Anthony Davis, I think, is still pretty young. I'll check the birth certificate, but I think he's 28 years old. Russ is 32.
Yeah, 28.
So if the argument is that, the Bucks are younger and have more depth, that's accurate. But if the argument is the Lakers are too old, well, then the Nets are too old. You know who's really old, Wilds? The Warriors. They're old. You know who's old? The Heat. They're old. Well, yeah. I mean, we could check it. I would imagine the Nets have one of the oldest rosters in basketball. So I think veterans win playoff games. I think veterans win playoff series. So I'm fine with an older team, Wilds, personally. That's just me.
Buddy.
Okay.
Yeah, you're speaking my language. Showtime is back in Los Angeles. Now, granted, it's the 2 o'clock matinee that your grandparents go to. What? They're the same movies.
Still a
$5 cheaper. But still, I am now the Lakers guy, Jenna. I'm the Lakers guy. Nick used to be the LeBron guy. But hey, you're playing basketball with a bunch of middle-aged guys drinking wine and talking about the value of naps. Hello, speaking old KW's language, you and me, Nick, are the LeBron guys. And look, Brandon, you might say they're too old. Why? Because LeBron's going to be 37 in December. Ariza's 36. Dwight's 35, going to be 36. Doesn't matter. We also have some breaking news, Nick. We have a re-signing too, Pep, if we can show the tweet here. After straight from Tokyo,
Magic Johnson.
We got news. Marc Gasol announces plans to return to the Lakers rather than retire. Boom, that's right. Let's keep it rolling, fellas. No need to retire. And Nick, I agree with you when we were talking about defense wins championships. Because remember Trevor Ariza, when Trae Young tried to nutmeg him, guess what? Old guys, we're not into that. You try to nutmeg me, guess what? You're going to get pushed out of bounds. So I love it. As a fellow old person, I'm here for it. I got Tom Brady, and I got the Lakers. You and me, buddy. 2 peas in a pod.
Okay, no.
I love it. Let's go.
That is, I understand that, I understand what you guys are saying, but I don't understand the point you're making. So is are folks, is anyone on this panel arguing the Denver Nuggets are a championship favorite? Because they're young. Nicole is young, Jamal Murray's young, Michael Porter Jr. is young.
No, we're just talking about the Lakers. No, we're just talking about the Lakers, and because I'm a fan of the Nets, you can throw them in a conversation because you know I'm a fan of the Nets. So it's really about the Lakers and the Nets.
No,
we're talking about this, not about the Nuggets or anybody else.
But I'm just asking who is the super young team? Like, when we're talking about the Lakers, we're talking about them competing for a championship. So who is the young team? That is going to out-youth them. So that's the question. So, like, if the Lakers' age is a problem, it is a problem compared to whom? That's the question I have. Like, who is this young team that people love that is... Tell me.
But depending on this science experiment, how this pans out, you guys have the potential to compete to come out the West, 100%, no doubt about that. We got to see, how that big three gel together. What is AD going to do? Is AD going to continue to stay out there and think he's a two-guard and stand on the perimeter, or is he going to go really embrace the 5? I know he said he was going to do that. Let's see if he really does that. LeBron James wants to bring the ball up. Russell Westbrook wants to bring the ball up. We saw this we saw this before in Houston, and it didn't work. So here's the problem, Nick, is what you just said, is competing for a championship. Do you guys have enough to beat the Nets? Do you guys have enough to beat the Bucks? And the answer right now is no. There's no way a healthy Nets team, there's no way you beat them. And there's no way you beat your team, your favorite, to win it next year. And that's the Bucks. And the best player, you deem the best player in the world right now, Giannis. I just don't see it happening.
So listen, I think right now they'd be underdogs against the Bucks. I agree with that, and I think that, by the way, the answer is the younger team that can win a title is Milwaukee. Giannis is younger than AD. Drew and Chris Middleton are in their very, very early 30s, and they have DiVincenzo, they have Connaughton, they've got a lot of youth there. They brought back Bobby Portis. That's the answer to me on that side of the bracket on the Eastern Conference, because the Heat got older by adding Kyle Lowry. The Nets are a bunch of old guys. And in the West, you would say, well, the Suns have youth, but it's all predicated on a 36-year-old Chris Paul who has been shown his signs of age far more often than LeBron has shown his. But I think that it is usually your concern with an older team is, are they going to get out in transition? Well, one that has Russell Westbrook as the point guard is going to. With an older team is, are they going to be able to switch on defense? Well, when you have Anthony Davis anchoring it, the answer to that is yes, you are. Like, I understand the on paper concern about age, but the best teams in basketball right now are old teams. The Nets are old, the Lakers are old, the Warriors are old, the Heat are old-ish, and then there's the Suns with a 36-year-old point guard, and then there's the Bucks, who have the best of everything right now. Yep. So I don't think the age is a concern. I am happy, though, Wayne Ellington, he's been my white whale, Jenna. I'm trying to get him teamed up with LeBron. He was on the Cavs before LeBron got there. They took me off camera. I can't.
Yeah.
Wayne Ellington.
Hey, time for Put a Grade on It. Me and Wilds. Lakers weren't the only team making moves yesterday. Heat were busy as well, pulling off a sign and trade for Kyle Lowry. Then they went and they signed P.J. Tucker, fresh off a title with the Bucks. Then they re-upped their sharpshooter Duncan Robinson, 5 years, $90 million for him. And to cap it all off, wait, there's more. Reportedly working towards a max extension with Jimmy Butler. Nick, put a grade on all the Heat's moves in free agency yesterday.
Listen, I'm going to give the Heat an A-. I think they did everything they wanted to do. They had targeted Lowry. They got him. They were able to bring back Duncan Robinson. Now, I don't think it's good enough to get them to the top 2 in the East, but this is a team that historically, because of the way the organization is and the training, doesn't deal with injuries at the rate other teams do, and they have a bunch of tough guys. So if you have a similar postseason as this past year where injuries are one of the defining points, I think that helps them. I think they did as well as they could have, but they usually go out, whale hunting, and they didn't really do that this offseason, Brandon.
Right. So look, I like this, and I'm gonna give it an A- as well because they leaned on what they do best, and that's bringing guys in that fit their mold. And what is their mold? They like guys that compete at a high level. So you got some guys that have that, and then you got guys that have high basketball IQ. So I like it. I still don't believe it's enough to come out the East, but this team will be more competitive next year than they were last year.
I love it, but I'm going to give them an incomplete because I still want DeRozan to end up somewhere. I would love to see DeRozan teamed up with Lowry again and run sort of like the Raptors back. There's no two guys that have better chemistry and better friends. So if they can make DeRozan happen, I would just be over the moon, Jenna.
All right, it feels like they're missing one piece there. Let's stick with basketball, talk some Team USA. They're headed to the semis, but will they have to take down Luka to win Olympic gold? We'll tell you next. First things first.
Luka.
Let's do a little in or out. Brought to you by Midas. Tires, brakes, oil, everything. Request your appointment at Midas.com today. Team USA is moving on to the semifinals, dispatching Spain overnight in the quarters behind a team high. How about this? 29 points from Kevin Durant. So either Argentina or Australia up next. Brandon, you in or out on Team USA winning the gold after making it to the semis?
I'm all in. I think we all should be all in on this. Look, if they lost, it would be a bigger story, but they won. And this is exactly what was supposed to happen. The best team in the world on the biggest stage got the job done. And it was led by that guy right there, the best player in the world, the best Olympian in the world when you look at, USA basketball. Kevin Durant is now the best basketball player ever to grace the Olympics. So great job to that guy right there. He went on a tear, Nick, in the third quarter. They started off slow, like they always do, and then Kevin Durant saved them in the third quarter. So hats off to him and hats off to this team, still in it, still chasing gold.
KD was sensational last night, and it was in the middle of the night, so most people, if you're watching right now, didn't see it. The U.S. was down double digits early in this game, and they stormed all the way back to win by double digits, and it was mostly because of Durant. However, Wilds, I have a confession to make to America. And very often I talk to America broadly, but this really is a confession to America. I don't always root for the United States in the Olympics. Guess what? When Usain Bolt was running, I always rooted for him.
That's fair.
Don't care who he was up against, always rooted for him. That Italian fella that just won the 100-meter dash, I was rooting for that guy. I liked the cut of his jib. I liked his story. Don't care who he beat. There's a lot of times I root against the country. This is going to be one of those times. I'm out. Blood is thicker than water, my friend. You know who's going to win the gold? My large adult Slovenian son. Undefeated. 17-0 with the adult national team in Slovenia. Is Slovenia a hotbed of basketball? It's not. But it will be after him. He doesn't even, it's him and the inferior Dragic brother. That's it. It's him and Zoran, and they're just lighting teams on fire. They're going to annihilate France here in a couple days, and then guess what? U.S., you're going down. Luka's going to get
put
you.
Draymond on him.
And by the way,
we're going to put Draymond on him.
Wilds. KD was so close to grasping that gold brass ring of best player alive, and then Giannis knocked him down in the playoffs. We might have to redo the tiers if Luka beats him in the gold medal game. KD might all of a sudden be a tier 3 guy. Luka might replace him. Let's just wait and see. But I'm out. Slovenia, Luka, gold medal, collision course.
All right, well, if we get a segment out of it, I'm all for it. I support anything we get with segment, prior to the football season. We're making it happen here.
Exactly. I'm glad you broke that cup.
I got
the last 2 days. No, I'm glad you dropped that thing.
That was Uncle Sam, my friend. That's the ghost of Uncle Sam. Boom, out of here. All right, I'm a little bit nervous about Australia. We lost to Australia. We'll get you a new one. We work for the show. We lost to Australia in exhibition, so I'm nervous about Patty Mills. I'm nervous about Deladova. I'm nervous about Joe Ingles. And just Jenna, as I've said 50 times, wouldn't it be great if Ben Simmons was playing on Team Australia as a way to develop his skills, and then he had a big matchup against Team USA where he could have a big showcase and then jettison all of his sort of nervousness as he could show out on the international stage? That's why I think Ben Simmons should have played on Team Australia. So I'll be rooting for the USA, but I'm nervous about the Boomers. Boom Squad.
Boom Squad. All right, well, Team USA moving on after taking down the world's #2 ranked team in Spain. We got to talk some football. Carson Wentz had foot surgery. Could Nick Foles swoop in and save the day in Indy? Here was Titans head coach Mike Vrabel reacting to Wentz's timeline to return. Take a listen.
Carson Wentz, it was announced, going to have foot surgery out for the next 5 to 12 weeks.
5 to 12. I know. 5 to 12.
You guys
I like your chances of being right.
You guys play them in 9 weeks. How much do you kind of keep an eye on?
Well, that falls right in the middle of it, doesn't it? I don't know.
Welcome back. Talk some football now. Indy quarterback Carson Wentz underwent surgery yesterday on his injured foot. There was a chance Carson was going to try and play through it, but alas, that is not the plan after all. Timetable set at 5 to 12 weeks for his return. Seems like a big gap. Anywhere between now and never, I don't know. So Frank Reich and the Colts might need some quarterback help. Paging Nick Foles, perhaps. So much history in Philadelphia between Reich and Wentz and Foles. Not all glowing history. Here was Foles yesterday on the possibility of reuniting in Indy.
Listen, Frank Reich is one of my favorite, if not favorite, coaches of all time. He understands me as a player. He understands me as a person. But, I haven't had any talks with him. I don't know. I'm a Chicago Bear right now. But I think if he knows me, he understands. I mean, y'all watched the 2017 season in the playoffs where he changed the offense and built it around me, and y'all saw what happened. So he understood my mentality as a player, and he was able to build it around me and put me in a successful position and my teammates. But that being said, they have Carson, and Carson and I have a lot of history. I have a lot of respect for Carson. He's a tremendous player. He's going through adversity once again, but he'll bounce back. And you know what? He might miss a few games, but I know he'll be back out there. But we haven't had any talks, so right now I'm a Chicago Bear, and I'm going to keep slinging it with these third stringers, and we're going to dice them up. You don't just want to go somewhere to go somewhere. Like, you want to go somewhere where you know the people somewhat, or you know someone who knows the people that can vouch for the people so you can succeed. Listen, I'm 32. I feel great. The version of me right now is much better than the version that played in the Super Bowl. I'll tell you that. And I'm confident in that. So put that through your mind.
Wow. Well, if Nick Foles is better than he was that Super Bowl season, grab him. Colts, Frank Wright, grab him. They'd be wise to trade for him. Here were Foles' numbers under Reich's tutelage in Philly. 5-1 during that Super Bowl run in 2017, 11 touchdowns, 3 picks. And he's the first to tell you, he's better now. So, Brandon, should the Colts trade for Nick Foles as a replacement for the injured Carson Wentz?
Oh, listen, first, did it sound like Nick Foles was a bit of a lobbyist there? I absolutely love it. Look, you got to take ownership in your career and what you're trying to do. But Nick Foles went out there and was like, look, I'm a third stringer. He wanted that to be clear. Everybody in the NFL knows that Nick Foles is not a third stringer. If anything, he's a backup. Yeah, and he's a guy that you can count on that can keep things together when a guy like Carson goes down. Look, go back to 2017. Carson Wentz was lighting the NFL on fire, okay? 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 103 quarterback passer rating. We talked about that yesterday. I talked about it yesterday. And then he went down, okay? Brutal injury at the wrong time. Terrible timing. Then Nick Foles stepped in. And yes, they did change some things up. And that boy came in and went on a tear himself. Like, that offense went to a new level. That deep ball emerged. Alshon Jeffrey start making more, bigger plays. So, with that being said, we know what the history is there. He didn't say, he is a great teammate. He said, look, he's a great player and he'll bounce back. They know that if he comes in there, there's going to be some bad blood. There's going to be some tension. We talked about it all last year where Carson Wentz is fragile, that mindset. And that's one of the reasons why he wanted out. That's one of the reasons why it didn't work last year, because of who they brought in. They brought in Jalen Hurts. So it won't work. But with all that being said, Nick, if I'm Chris Ballard, the general manager there, I do it. I do it quick. Look, this is the National Football League, and yesterday you talked about the schedule, how brutal of a start of a season it is. You don't have time to waste. If you fall behind to the Tennessee Titans and what they have going on there, bringing in Julio Jones, oh my goodness, and that running game, you may not have an opportunity. So, no, you got to go get it done right now. Who else out there can you get? There's nobody else that can come in there and help you make it through this stretch until Carson Wentz gets back.
So there's a lot to unpack here. First, I want to talk about the Bears side of things. If I'm Ryan Pace, I cut Nick Foles today. That was outrageous. Whoa. You're on the team, buddy. Like, what are you doing? Like, he's like, we haven't talked yet. No bleep, you haven't talked. It's not allowed. Like, I don't. Hey, Nick Foles, do you know why you're the third string quarterback? Because that team watched you play last year and said, by God, someone call Andy Dalton, because he'll be better than what we had. They gave you every opportunity to prove yourself. They gave you a bunch of money that you didn't play up to the level of, and you were terrible. And by the way, you were terrible in Jacksonville. So this idea of he's like, listen, I'm going to go dice him up with the third string, and he's my favorite coach I've ever had, and when I go somewhere, you want to... What are you talking about, buddy? So, I don't think the Colts should have to trade much for Nick Foles, because I think Nick Foles should be released this morning. If I'm running the Bears, I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man. Like, stop it. That's first of all. Second of all, if the Colts, on the flip side, if the Colts were to add Nick Foles, they almost have to release Carson Wentz. They almost have to be like, oh my God, like, what do you can't do this to Carson Wentz. I mean, Carson Wentz doesn't deserve that. I just mean, like, Carson Wentz can't have this guy following him throughout his whole career, city to city, just like, because, poor guy. Like, and so I do think Wilds, that the kind of underrated story of this, everyone talks about what a great job Chris Ballard has done. And I think that is correct. I think Grigson, when he was running things with Andrew Luck, did a poor of a general managing job as one can do. I think Ballard's done an excellent job roster building. But and we can show the graphic. When Carson Wentz is your quarterback, you need to have a backup plan. Because it is not shocking he got hurt. It would have been shocking if he didn't. And I understand this is like an unlucky injury, and they're like, oh no, he's had it for a long time. But you can't
they say
pencil.
That about
Right. Exactly right, Jenna. They're all, it's like, if that, if this. You can't pencil Carson in for 16 games. And if you had real Super Bowl aspirations, as I know some people like Brandon really likes the roster and a lot of people do, you needed to invest better in your backup quarterback than your guy Jacob Eason-Wilds. So the short version is, if I'm the Bears, I'm cutting Carson Wentz. If I'm the Colts, if I'm the Bears, I'm cutting Nick Foles. And if I'm the Colts, I'm asking myself, why were we not prepared for the inevitable Carson Wentz injury?
Okay, so I have two solutions here. First, about Nick Foles. I think you made a great point, but I don't cut him. I just send him somewhere else. And it's like, hey, COVID protocols. You see what's happening with the Vikings. Kellen Mond and Kirk Cousins are in the COVID protocol, and they're like literally bringing in guys off the street to run the practice. And I could see something happening like we had with the Broncos last year, where you get quarterbacks going into a COVID protocol. So you need to have guys separated. So Nick Foles, good news. Your training camp is actually in a different part of Illinois. So there you go. So here's I've got the solution for the Colts, and it's a blind reveal. And this is so obvious once I reveal the blind reveal, you're going to be like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Here's the guy who should be the quarterback for the Colts. He's not done at all. He had the 6th most wins. He had the 8th best completion percentage. He had the 10th most passing yards, and he was tied for 9th in yards per pass.
Is
Nicholas, do you know who it is?
Is it Phillip Rivers?
That is correct. Bing, bing, bing. $50 to Nick Wright. You can go towards your gambling debts to Phil Helmy.
Is he coaching high school right now?
Bring back Phillip Rivers. He didn't really want to retire, Brandon. He didn't. It was a very odd kind of departure.
Bring back Andrew Luck.
Where it feels like... Yeah,
that's not what I heard.
No, it feels like he wanted to go a little... Go ahead, let's hear what you heard. I got you. I got you to put on your news hat. Let's go. Let's hear it.
Well, listen, poor Chris Ballard. You highlighted him earlier. This dude is phenomenal. Well, Nick, you talked about him. This dude is next level general manager. He's next level team building, and he also has his guy at the head coaching position, and he let him do his job. And so when you look at his stint in Indy right now, you come in and you think you have what you need, especially at the quarterback position, right? You got Andrew Luck there, and then Andrew Luck retires on you, okay, in camp. That's brutal. So then you go to Brissett, okay? Did I say his name right? Jacoby. There you go.
Brissett.
Jacoby comes in. Jacoby,
yep.
Yeah, he was doing okay, and then he didn't pan out. But then you come in and you bring in Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers, Nick, I know we went back and forth on this last year. He did a great job, and you didn't believe in him. And he took that offense, he took that team to another level. And Chris wanted him back. The whole organization wanted him back, but he was torn. He wanted to go. And he wanted to go, be Papa. He has a lot of children. And he also wanted to be a high school coach. So I don't think this is going to happen because this ball was in Phillip Rivers' hands last year.
Well, and so if we're going to talk about Ballard and the what ifs, the other what if is this. They could have, with the assets they traded for Carson Wentz, they could have traded for Jimmy Garoppolo. And now people want them to now trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, but the problem is they're already out draft picks because they traded for Carson Wentz and they have Wentz's salary to deal with, so it's probably not tenable. So the short version is, I think the Colts are pretty much screwed. Phillip Rivers is coaching high school football. Carson Wentz is out 5 to 12 weeks, which call it 3 months. And Nick Foles is pining for a job when he can't beat out Andy Dalton. How are they not screwed, Brandon? What's their path? What are they going to do?
Great defense, and lean on the run game. Lean on the run game. Don't forget about that, Nick. We can't. Yes, you're right. It's going to be tougher for him for sure, right? You need a guy that can come in there and can get it done. Excuse me. But when you look at that defense, top 5 defense, that defense is smart. They're physical. They can turn the ball over. And then you have an offense that can run the ball. They can dominate the clock. So they still have a chance. Please don't get that twisted.
Okay.
All right, we're going to leave that, take a turn, talk some baseball. Time for the weird and the wonderful. We got a little Cleveland, Toronto, separated by 291 miles and by one Blue Jay superstar, Vladdy Guerrero Jr. A laser out to left, 34th of the season, second behind only who, Brandon? Who would he be second behind?
Shohei!
Shohei Ohtani!
Let's go.
Pretty wonderful
Love
stuff.
it.
Wilds, what else you got for us?
Oh, we'll start with the weird. Orioles in the Bronx, bottom of the 8th. Orioles up 7-1. Aaron Judge at the plate and the cat on the field. There's a cat on the field, and according to our official timer, the cat was on the field for 3 minutes, 53 seconds, and according to an article on Gothamist, there are 500,000 feral cats in NYC. And while many thrive in finding food and shelter for themselves, overpopulation is a problem. So make sure your cat is spayed or neutered or microchipped if they spend any time outdoors. Cat wins, Yankees lose 7-1. Moving on to the wonderful, and this is even better than the cat. We're going to stay in the natural world. Nationals up 3-2 on the Phillies when center fielder Victor Robles gets a visit from a praying mantis. It's a little praying mantis rally hat. Some fun facts about praying mantises. They can spin their heads around 180 degrees. They cannibalize their mates after, getting it on. And they love keeping track of the out. So at one point when Victor is giving a shout out to the left fielder, says, hey guys, there's 1 out. Reminder, praying mantis, there's 1 out. And that's the weird and wonderful from the national pastime.
Reminder, praying mantis.
He played the whole
1 out. Titans went on to win 7-5, by the way.
The whole thing was
1 out. Back to football. Jameis repping with the ones at Saints camp. Does he have any chance to succeed with his star receiver, Michael Thomas, on the sidelines? We discuss that next. First things first. Back here, first things first, we are joined by Super Bowl champ Greg Jennings. Good morning, Greg. Thanks for hanging out with us. We got to talk some New Orleans Saints now. Jameis Winston took reps of practice with the first-team offense again yesterday. Maybe a clue into what Sean Payton is thinking between he and Taysom Hill, but still no Michael Thomas there. Star receiver sidelined after June ankle surgery for the foreseeable future. Here was Jameis over the weekend on missing his top target.
He's one of the best receivers in the game, right? But the thing about Mike Thomas, he's working his tail off to get back with us, right? So it's not like we have a guy that's not going to be working. This guy is one of the most dominant receivers over the past 5 years. This guy has a tremendous work ethic. This guy wants to be here. So I guarantee you, Mike Thomas is working his tail off right now to get back with us. And that's what we're going to be able to cherish. We're going to remember this year for Mike Thomas, right? All great players go through adversity. I had some adversity where I had to sit the bench all of last year, right? So all great players go through adversity. Mike Thomas is going to bounce back stronger than ever. And that's what this culture is with the Saints organization. Before I even got here, the past 4 years, this team has been winning. This team has been together. So we're going to embrace our teammates, and we're going to love on our teammates, and we're going to have their back until they get back.
During that soundbite, I actually hired Jameis to be my hype man.
Amazing.
So if football doesn't work out for him. Greg, what's your reaction to Jameis's comments?
I don't mind his comments. I think they're accurate. Michael Thomas is a worker. And, when you listen to Jameis Winston, I don't have the relationship that Brandon, you may have with Jameis, but he comes off as a guy who's always trying to say the right thing. And sometimes it may be conveyed in ways that is like, what? And all he has to do is just truly just say what he feels. But what he's saying is accurate. Michael Thomas is a worker. They've established the culture. Michael Thomas has established himself as one of the best receivers in all of football, not just because of what he does on game day, but because of his work ethic, because of that whole mantra of can't guard Mike. You don't get that good without establishing a work ethic and continuing to thrive. He has some work to do, obviously, coming off an injury. You got a lot of receivers that want to be in that upper echelon, and Michael Thomas feels like, just like anyone who's been injured, who's gone through any type of injury, I got to get back. I got to reclaim my status when it comes to being the best receivers in the game. But as far as Jameis Winston, adding himself in that conversation of great players that has gone through adversity, I honestly love the mentality. I know we're going to all say, well, wait, he's not a great player. Well, in his mind, he is a great player. And Brandon, you know, any player who plays this game should have that mentality, should have that approach. We may not agree with them, but they better have that psyche and that approach to the game and feeling about themselves.
You're right. Listen, you're right about that. And I joke all the time because every time I talk about Jameis, I say I'm all in on Jameis. And then I highlight his stats going back to, 2019, 5,100 yards through the air, 33 touchdowns. But he also had 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. I always exclude the interceptions, and Nick always want to remind me and the audience about that part. But here's the deal. I truly believe that, under Drew Brees and watching Drew work and how he comes to work every single day, even on his off days, he's going to elevate. He's going to get better because he's a sponge. And also Coach Payton. Coach Payton is a guy that keeps it real, and he's also a great coach. If you come in and you work your butt off, you will get better with Coach Payton. And his system is so much science behind it. It makes sense. So, yes, I'm all in on Jameis, and I have had the opportunity to be around Jameis and his wife, and my wife Misha. We had an opportunity of being around them for a couple of off seasons, and they're great people. And what you see is what you get. So what he is in those press conferences, what he is in those videos that Wilds always highlights, his little quirky workouts, that is him 24/7. It's not a game. He has that little country boy swagger, that country boy type of personality. So that is who you are. It's not a game. It's not phony. On Michael Thomas, I had the opportunity to be around Michael Thomas, and I've never seen anything like it. Like, I was a guy that prided myself on hard work and just getting up every single day and just getting after it. And then I had the opportunity to be in New York and play with the Giants, and I saw Odell Beckham Jr., and he was next level. Like, this dude was a machine. And when I got to New Orleans, and that was my last cup of tea, I never seen anything like it. He only knows one speed. So is he working his tail off right now? Absolutely he is, because that's all he knows. I literally saw this guy the day of a game in a walkthrough in a Ritz-Carlton down what's the place in New Orleans where everybody goes and do the Mardi Gras or wherever. We're in the Ritz-Carlton. Bourbon Street, where the Ritz-Carlton is. And there's a couple hours before the game, and literally it's walkthrough. And walkthrough, Nick, all it is like you take a couple steps. Drew Brees, the coaches, Coach Payton, just want to see if you know your assignment. That's it. This dude was going full speed. He was in a full-out sweat. And I'm looking around because I just got there. So I'm looking at Coach Payton. I'm looking at Drew Brees. I'm like, what is this? They said, Brandon, he does it every single week. This dude is next level when it comes to taking care of himself. But that's not the issue. The issue is, can he and Coach Payton get on the same page and get through all this drama and get this organization back on track now that Drew Brees is no longer there?
And so that leads me to my question, because the Saints desperately need Michael Thomas. Because if you look at their pass catchers, if Michael Thomas isn't there, it's not a great group. Nick Vannett and Adam Troutman are their top tight ends now. Traquan Smith, who's the other, and Marquez Callaway are their top receivers. Obviously, Kamara's a sensational player. And if you're going to have Taysom playing quarterback, he's not one of your guys you can use as like a gadget player to catch passes. They really, really need Michael Thomas, which is why, Greg, I want to throw it to you because I have a question. He suffered this injury in week 1. The Saints got knocked out of the playoffs in the middle of January. Why did he have surgery in June? Like, he's not recovering from the injury. He's recovering right now from surgery. And I know at times guys have delayed surgeries if their contract situation's unsettled, but Michael Thomas is on a record-breaking extension in the middle of it. So what do you make of the fact, because Sean Payton, when he was asked about it, didn't hide the fact he was a little upset. He goes, listen, he's getting back from surgery that, quite frankly, he should have had earlier. What would be the reasoning, Greg, as a player, that he waited ostensibly an extra 6 months to have this surgery?
A couple things, Nick. And it does seem strange every time you hear about a player postponing surgery or not going right into surgery. But you got to think, when you get injured and you have an injury like Michael Thomas suffered, I've been injured. And I remember when I had my sports hernia, I didn't know the diagnosis to be that right away. And so you're going through the process of making sure that not only the team doctors, because we as players feel like, okay, the team doctors, they're great, but they're also going to side more with the team. They have a loyalty and an interest of the team more so than myself. So I want to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can outside of the facility to ensure that I'm getting the diagnosis correct and seeing if I do actually then need surgery. Sometimes it's like, okay, I don't know if you will need surgery. You may need surgery. And then you go through the process and it's like, it's not getting any better. You're going through all the rehab. You're going through all the little workouts, everything that you need to do. And then it still doesn't progress. And then that's when you have to make the decision, well, let's do the surgery. And at that moment, you've lost so much time when there was so much unknown and there was an expectation or a hope that you could actually get by without getting the surgery. And that I've experienced that. Brandon, I'm sure you've experienced that. So many players go through that. And so that's why surgery tends to get pushed back. And it never looks good on the player when it happens. But that's my experience with it.
Okay, so Greg, I think that is a totally reasonable explanation that you just gave. And if Michael Thomas gave that explanation to Sean Payton, I don't think Sean Payton would have come out with comments saying it should have happened a long time ago. I think he would have come out and say, well, like, Michael Thomas, we thought he didn't need surgery. But Nick almost did a favor to Sean Payton because his quote was far more caustic than the way that Nick paraphrased it. He's like, this surgery should have happened a long time ago. There is literally zero reason to say that, to basically throw Michael Thomas's decision-making under the bus, unless you think there's something else happening. Now, on one end of the spectrum, maybe it's a Scottie Pippen last dance thing, where Michael Thomas is upset, just like Scottie Pippen was upset about his contract or relationship. Scottie Pippen delayed surgery. He's like, I'm going to have my summer, so I'll have surgery late, and I'll take time off during the year. That's what it smells like. I'm not saying it's out of the question, but, Brandon, Sean Payton's comments did not seem like everything was good. Sean Payton did not give the benefit of the doubt, like, he could have even said, like, I wish it happened earlier. Or, it would have been nice to happen earlier. He's like, it should have happened earlier. And it was not like a kind way of putting it. So, look, I think there's more. Yeah. There's enough smoke here where I think there's some fire burning in their relationship. But if Michael Thomas had the same explanation that Greg had, I don't think Sean Payton would have said that at all. It would have made total sense what Greg said, but he didn't, and Sean Payton had some odd comments. So it leads me to believe that Michael Thomas either purposely delayed the surgery or just gave Sean Payton a poor explanation.
Yeah, I think Greg hit it on the head. No one's talking about this. When you turn on any show, and if they're talking about Michael Thomas and the Saints and this surgery, they're going to be just giving their opinions. Greg said the most important thing, and people need to understand that, right? The relationship between player and the medical staff in the National Football League is an adversarial relationship. Guys don't trust. I would go out there and say probably 70% of the guys in the National Football League do not trust the NFL's medical staff. because they get paid by the organization. So most of these guys, that's why you always hear about second opinions. The NFLPA, so the Players Association, fought for that, where guys can go out and get second opinions, third opinions. And that's what guys do probably 90% of the time. They lean on their agents' connections with other doctors around the country. They lean on their own network. Hell, they even lean on their college relationships when it comes to the medical. So you have to understand that. So yes, Coach Payton's going to go out there and say, yeah, this is what was supposed to happen because that's what the team wanted, right? But Michael Thomas, his second opinion could have been, you know what? You don't need surgery, right? You can actually rehab this thing. And he went out there, did exactly what Greg said, where he worked his tail off. He tried it out and it didn't work. He finished the season on this, right? Think about that. So if he can finish the season, then maybe, yes, he can rehab. We just saw this, Nick, with Carson Wentz. They said Carson Wentz, he could potentially rest and get better, but then he opted for the surgery.
And then one day later,
it's the same process for every other player. But, correct.
So listen, and Greg, I'm gonna throw it to you quickly because I know we're up against it here. And I am not accusing Michael Thomas of this, but tell me if I am mistaken here because I don't think I am. It is not unprecedented, however, for guys to end a season, know it is overwhelmingly likely I need surgery, and also say my offseason is short, this game is brutal. I do not want to have surgery the first week of February, and now all of a sudden I'm in an 18-month cycle of the season, surgery, rehab, getting ready for the season again. And there are guys, and again, I'm not saying Michael Thomas did this, but Sean Payton's comments to Wild's point make it seem like Sean Payton thinks he did, was like, nah, man, I've earned a couple months off. And then I'll see if it's better, and if it's not, I'll have surgery then. Like, that is something in your experience in the league that you've seen happen, correct? Again, I'm not saying Michael Thomas did it. I don't have any direct, but that wouldn't be something that's never happened. A guy thinks, I probably need this surgery, but I do not want it to be my February and March surgery and then rehabbing. I want some time off, right?
That's not at all out of bounds, Nick. That is a real reality that guys go through. Understanding that their offseason is short. Everything that you laid out, yes, that is a true reality. I, however, do not believe that was Michael Thomas's approach because of what Brandon said when he experienced it. This is a guy who just knows only one way, and that way is to work and to bust his tail.
Remember the Saints released Emmanuel Sanders in a calf-saving move back in March. They could probably use him right now. But we move on. Let's talk some basketball.
That's right.
Miami Heat, especially, they were one of the most active participants in free agency yesterday. Did they make the biggest splash? Talk about that next. First things first. Back here, first things first. We're drawing a blank. Start with Kyle Lowry. The NBA champ has taken his talents to South Beach after the Miami Heat pulled off a sign and trade yesterday. Six-time All-Star joins Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler. It's a pretty formidable big three. But Brandon, your favorite signing in NBA free agency yesterday was blank.
Yeah, a couple interesting moves yesterday, but let's not overcomplicate this. I'm going to go out to Phoenix, Arizona, and talk about CP3. CP3, a lot of people was wondering, like, why is he opting out? Well, I mean, avid fans maybe not, too tied in on the salary cap and, how that all works. But, this dude, he leaned on his leverage, all right? Free agency is something that a lot of players back in the day fought hard for, and they got it, right? So now you see this guy opt out, and now he has a bigger commitment and a better deal from the Phoenix Suns organization. Before he got there, this team was just, okay. I mean, you go back to the bubble and, they had a great experience in the bubble, but nobody thought that they would make it to the finals. Nobody thought that this team would be the hottest team since March of this year in the regular season. So CP3 is the biggest signing. You got 8 in there. He's going to continue to get better. And you also have Booker, who's going to continue to get better. Man, that dude, in that last series, those shots that he was making was nothing short of Kobe Bryant, right? Like that type of style. We're talking about making a tough shot over and over and over again. So I can't wait to see what they do next year and how they even gel even more.
So listen, I'm happy for Chris Paul. Tillman Fertitta reportedly called his previous contract the worst contract he'd ever seen in the history of sports or business. Turns out it was bad for Chris Paul because he opted out of it and then got 4 years, $120 million. And I've said on this show time and again, Robert Sarver, notoriously cheap. Robert Sarver ponied up to keep this crew together. So good for them. I'm happy for them. I don't think they get back to the finals, but happy for CP3. But my favorite signing was one of the bargain signings. Maybe went underrated. This was a guy who in the playoffs was the second best player on what some people thought was a championship contender. Old Uncle Jeff Green. Jeff Green going from the Nets to the Nuggets. The Nuggets saying, hey, we got Nikola. We're going to have Jamal Murray back. Michael Porter Jr. take another leap. Aaron Gordon, not good in the playoffs, but potentially good in the regular season. And then you get Jeff Green. The Nets, meanwhile, lose arguably their second most reliable playoff performer. Only Durant's a guy in the postseason you really trust more than you trust Jeff Green. So that's tough for them. It's a great move for the Nuggets. They add a little veteran depth. 2 years, $10 million. I'm surprised the Nets couldn't pony up for him. But yeah, I like Jeff Green going to the Denver Nuggets, who obviously are going to be one of the favorites coming out of the West next year, Wilds.
Okay, did you do that whole thing to throw Kyrie, to throw shade at Kyrie and James Harden all of a sudden and Blake? What's going on here? You make a Jeff Green compliment and an insult sandwich for Kyrie.
Was Jeff Green not
He was good for a game.
He was amazing. Was he not great in the Game 5?
He was good.
He was pretty good in the Game 7 in 2018. Yeah, he was pretty good, pretty reliable. You know what's not reliable? Not being able to play. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay.
So he's
landing on the guy's foot.
He's reliable, trustworthy.
Okay. All right. Anyways, this guy's fired up this morning. And he got a new coffee cup, still fired up. Anyways, my favorite signings. This is what also hurts your feelings, because your buddy Caruso, gone out of L.A., 4 years, $37 million to Chicago. Also Lonzo, 4 years, $85 million to Chicago. Sorry, I get so excited. My earpiece fell out. So anyways, I like the Bulls are back. I'm very interested in the Bulls. They got Zach LaVine's out in Tokyo getting the job done. So look, I like the new look Bulls. The other weird thing about this is what's going on with Zion. Like, I know they wanted him to play the point a little bit more, but it just seems this like an odd fit that the Pelicans are not nearly as aggressive as Zion wanted them to be in free agency. So we'll see.
Caruso, you'll be missed,
let's
buddy.
Just keep it rolling.
I know, he's a good player.
Hey, the Lakers brought back Dwight Howard. It's a bit of a shocker. The 35-year-old won a title in L.A. the last 2 seasons ago before spending last year in Philly. But Brandon, the most head-scratching signing in NBA free agency yesterday was blank.
Well, your boy Dwight's a part of it, Superman. All of the Lakers' moves. Look, I kind of get it, right? When you have LeBron James, you're competing for a championship every single year, and he's going to force you to make moves every single year. If you're not trying, then you're not competing, he's not going to be happy. So I understand why they're being so aggressive. I like LeBron James, obviously, right? Like, it's LeBron James. Russell Westbrook. If you don't like Russell Westbrook and his approach, then there's something wrong with you. So I like Russell Westbrook. So I like on AD. But all three of them together, that's the beef, Nick. I just don't see how that's going to work. And then, when you think about the moves they made yesterday, they have now 7 guys on guaranteed contracts. 6 of them are 34 years or older, right? You got how many guys that are 35 years or older on that team? This may be the oldest team in the NBA. That's a problem for you guys.
It is.
This is going to be interesting, buddy. And all of this, I'm going to say it again. Every time we talk about the Lakers until the season starts, I'm going to say this. All this to beat the Nets, they only played 8 games together, buddy. You know it, Jenna.
And zero conference finals or NBA finals games together because they finished 7th in the NBA last year. They're not all that to beat the Nets, but all that to win a title. So listen, and by the way, I'm not going to let you just ignore Wayne Ellington. Wayne Ellington is going to be, if you're bringing up the Nets, the Lakers version of Joe Harris without turning into a pumpkin in the playoffs. Wayne Ellington, mark him down. Oh, he's good. I said without the playoff stuff. Well, Wilds. Put Wilds on the screen here if you could for me, please.
Oh, sure.
I tried to emotionally and mentally prepare you. And, Wilds goes to bed with images of Kawhi Leonard and Zion Williamson dancing in his head. And then he wakes up, and it's actually Evan Fournier for $78 million. Oh, what's more dangerous? A child with a box of matches or the Knicks with cap space? Whenever you can give $78 million to this balding French fella who's going to fall on the ground while guarding Kyrie Irving, what am I going to do? What?
Gosh darn it. Don't show that highlight.
That's all I have. Our producer said, do we have any Evan Fournier footage? And I said, I know we do. They're like, why would we have Evan Fournier footage? And I said, remember when Kyrie cooked him and you saw his bald spot? That's $78 million. The Knicks are back, baby. Get the parade ready. Down Madison Ave. Let's do it.
Stop.
Come on.
Stop.
34th Street, my friend.
Stop.
Oh, look at what's happening. My set's
see?
falling apart. My coffee cups are breaking.
That's what you get. This is just set karma. Set karma for you. Yeah, that's what you get. You try to make fun of Evan Fournier because he's got a little male pattern baldness. Guess who else does? Your buddy Alex Caruso and LeBron. So it's not a big deal. And he's playing great in the Olympics. He's going to be fantastic. He's going to do a great job. Now, granted, he came to the Celtics and he bounced. Anyways, my answer is PJ Tucker. I thought the Bucks were going to do a little Tampa Bay Bucks idea where it's like, hey, let's bring the band back together. PJ Tucker's up there drinking champagne, spitting all over the place. I'm like, what happened? Because he only signed for 2 years, $15 million in Miami. And here's the reason. An offer that started at, say, $7 million would have cost the Bucks approximately $23 million in tax and thus would mean a $30 million bill. That, above all else, is why he's not coming back to the Bucks. So that actually makes sense. I was head scratching, then I found the answer. So PJ Tucker, best of luck in Miami.
And
I think
the Bucks
they're going to
get DiVincenzo.
a great team. He's a great addition. I know, but I would have liked to if he was back to the Bucks.
By the way, I mean, we talk about that Bucks-Nets series. The Nets lose Kyrie, the Bucks lose DiVincenzo. I figure it's about even.
Without Dante, so
it's about even. They've won the same number of series without LeBron on their side. Same thing.
Talk some Team USA. They're playing pretty well. Moving on to the semis, but will they have to knock off Luka to win gold? We'll tell you next. First things first, rolling on.
Let's do it. Come on. 34th Street, my friend. Oh, look at what's happening. My set's falling apart. My coffee cups are breaking. Look at that.
Nick!
Oh, my God.
Nick, you're a beautiful disaster, my friend. You're a beautiful disaster. That was from earlier on in the show.
That's what $78 million
set back together.
For Evan Fournier does to you.
Stop talking about people's heads. No, that's what happens when you talk about people's hair.
Your morning brought to you by Subway. Busy night in the NBA, or the lack thereof. Free agency opened up, and it was a frenzy. A lot of teams looking to add young talent. Lakers, however, focused on adding veteran presence.
Oh, Lakers.
That's a nice way to say it. Adding veteran presence around the new big three of Bron, Brow, and Brody. They brought back Dwight Howard. They also signed Trevor Ariza. They signed Wayne Ellington and Kent Bazemore. Certainly some of that shooting help that we talked about them needing. Okay, so take a look. This is the Lakers' entire roster as it stands right now. All the signings from yesterday had been Lakers at one point in their careers.
That's
so we welcome them back into the fold. Nick, what do you make of the Lakers' moves?
I like the Wayne Ellington move a ton. I'm glad they got Dwight back. I thought he was really good for them when they won the title. I don't really care at all about the Bazemore move, and Ariza's fine. Ariza's good veteran presence. He's had some good playoff moments, some bad playoff moments. People said, though, they had to address shooting. And with Ariza and most notably Ellington, they address shooting. I think they're going to get Patty Mills or Carmelo, maybe both, and that will further address shooting. But those are also guys in their 30s. I don't understand the concern about the age thing, though, because the best teams in basketball, aside from the Bucks, are old. They're all old. The Nets are old. The Warriors are old. The Heat's two big acquisitions yesterday were Kyle Lowry and PJ Tucker. Like, these are the young guys don't come available in free agency. Their teams re-sign them. So I don't get, would the Lakers be better if they didn't sign Ariza for the veteran minimum because he's 35 and so the team would be younger because of it? I guess I don't understand the concern from my colleagues that the Lakers are too old. Their second best player is 28, their third best player is 32, and their best player is the greatest athlete in the history of the world who has seemed ageless for 15 years. Like, what are we talking about? So, yeah, I like Ellington signing a lot. Brandon, they're not going to make any major moves. They have no cap space because they have three guys that are all making $40 million bucks. So I get, like, I'm not sure I understand the concern about the age.
I think it's more so about their approach to getting back on track. And it's, there's a couple teams that are old, but they're older. This is the oldest team in the NBA right now. And this is your answer to what happened last year. That's what we're doing. Let's go to football, right? You got the New England Patriots. They have a down year, and then they go on this spending spree. They spend more money in free agency than they ever have in the last 20 years. Then you look at the Bucks. What did the Bucks do? They ran it back. They brought back everybody. I actually thought that's what the Lakers what they should have done, leaving the bubble with the championship. Like, that's what they should have done. They should have brought back Dwight Howard. Why would you let those guys go? You already got it done, built on that chemistry, built on that continuity. So now your answer is, okay, LeBron's going to be LeBron. I'm not one of those guys that's going to go out there and say LeBron's done, LeBron can't get it done. No, LeBron is going to be LeBron. And even when he slows down, he's still going to be dominant because he can still impact the game in so many different ways, getting so many other people involved, and his leadership is second to none. But then you have AD. What's happening with AD? Do we know that AD is going to come back? I think he's like almost in an identity crisis. Like, he's a 5, but he wants to embrace, being out there on the perimeter and shooting threes. That's what he wanted to do. I know he said he was going to go down there and play more, spend more time at the 5, but that's yet to be determined. And then you got Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook and LeBron James on the floor together. Two ball-dominant guys. They both want to bring the ball up. They're both point guards. We saw in Houston what happens when you say, okay, Russell, let James Harden be the guy, and you go out there and you try to fit it. It doesn't work. Go to D.C., and what happens? He averaged a triple-double. So your answer to that is, okay, this chemistry experiment, and then you go out there and you get Trevor Ariza, who I like. I like Trevor. Trevor won he won it back in 2009 with Kobe Bryant. Like, he's a champion. No doubt about it. And then Dwight Howard, there wasn't a lot of people, saying, oh my goodness, why did the Lakers let Dwight Howard go? He just won a championship there. He got his career back on track. Nobody was saying that. So now this is the answer?
Okay.
I just don't believe in it, Wilds. I don't believe in it.
Yeah, you know why? Do you know why, Brandon? Because you may be old in the football world, you're like, I retired, but you're actually still a young man. Not like old KW with the gray hair here, and me and Nick are both on the same page. We like old people. So, Nick, check your Venmo account. I gave you a little bit of money for the Phil Hellmuth loss, and I'm giving you a little bit more money to get a bigger couch, because you and me are going to be there all season long, buddy. 2 Lakers fans hanging out. Guess what we'll be doing? Drinking wine, talking about the old guys playing basketball, taking naps in the afternoon, just like LeBron. You, me, and LeBron, buddy.
Early
Boom,
prediction.
I got it, because here we go.
That's your team.
LeBron's 36. LeBron's going to be, yeah, there's my team now too, bud. I'm all for it. It's 36-year-old. Dwight's going to be 36. Wayne Ellington's 33. Marc Gasol, don't forget about him. We got breaking news out of Spain, if we can throw that up. Is Marc Gasol coming back to the team? I think he is, yeah. Announced his plan to return to the Lakers rather than retire. So, hey, should I retire or should I play for the Lakers? Oh, he's going to play. I love it. And Nick, I love it. No, it doesn't matter. He's back, Brandon. Don't make fun of old people. You just saw Tom Brady win.
Everyone's losing their mind.
Old people can get it done. I like it.
Happy birthday,
I'm all for. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm all for old people.
I understand. Okay, can everybody understand what happened? Why did the Lakers fail last year? Injuries. It was not because the team was terribly built. It was not because
don't skip. Make sure you include AD's play as well, because when AD was healthy, he was having a terrible year.
I disagree with you. I think he was hurt all year. He was hurt at the end of the bubble. I don't think he was healthy all year. He then re-aggravated it, and he was injured, and then he came back, was injured, and then he got hurt in the bubble. I think AD was hurt all year. So your two best guys got hurt. One of them is the young guy on the team, which I would think would speak to the fact that guys get hurt, old and young. Guys get hurt. Kyrie got hurt. Jamal Murray got hurt. James Harden got hurt. Anthony Davis got hurt. Kawhi Leonard got hurt. Those are all, except for Harden, guys in their 20s. So young guys can get hurt as well. The Lakers did not need a massive overhaul. Now, the Russell Westbrook move is, as Brandon put it, a bit of a chemistry experiment. And LeBron is going to see if he can do for Russ what he has done for Bosh and Love and Kyrie and AD, which is take guys who've never been a part of winning, they get in LeBron's orbit, and all of a sudden they are shining a nice, fancy championship ring. We'll see if that will work. But the idea that this won't work because they're 33 instead of the Heat... Yes, I understand they had shooters. You know who didn't have shooters? The 2020
Ariza.
championship Los Angeles Lakers. They didn't have shooters, buddy. They didn't. It was Dwight Howard. It was JaVale McGee. It was Anthony Davis. It was LeBron James. It was Rajon Rondo.
They were actually shooting. Actually, they were good from the three-point line. Actually, they were. Yes, they were good, and they played phenomenal defense. They were a complete team. They were a complete team for sure. Yeah. Right now, you're banking on Trevor Ariza. Trevor, I love you. You know you're my buddy. I'll probably see you in Miami somewhere. But no one's signing Trevor Ariza to be their three-point solution.
He's their ninth man.
Little crazy conspiracy.